and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am.
Hello there, beloved Ascension Pioneers and all you divine lovers out there. Welcome for this Ascension update, which is not just for the month of January, but also for the whole year ahead. So far this year has been an amazing turnover. We've shifted pages from the number 9 into number 10, which adds up to 1. So this is actually a year of initiative, new beginnings, and initiation. What this means is that for a lot of us who've been here as volunteer souls specifically, we've kind of been piling up this knowledge. We've been gathering knowledge for 9 years, and this was almost like a research project for our human self, so that our ET light being, in a way, is how you can call it, has been learning through mastering the physical human realm and the human experience, so we can be of greater assistance in the awakening world. It's not the only world it's awakening. There's a whole pile of worlds in awakening and in transition. So we're here now doing this work for the knowledge that serves on this planet and beyond. This is a gathering of many councils that are in interplay. And as the world still spins in density and chaos many times, this is just the densest of the density that is being experienced for most and for many in this awakening world. But it's not the whole picture. So if you're experiencing profound shifts and awakening and abundance and a reaping of the rewards, which is also one of the main energies and epiphanies of the one cycle, because in a one cycle we gather everything kind of like, put it, like carry it around their shoulder like this pile of knowledge. It's almost like the Fool going out into the world again through a new initiative. So this will be a year when we will instigate and initiate new projects. In a one frequency, we also can meet new people that are very important for our soul's evolutionary path and for onwards motion. So I've decided to kind of compile this Ascension update in 3 main parts. I don't know if there'll be more, but for now this is how it is. I always record my videos in flow, so whatever comes next I don't always know. So go and bear with me please as we go along this transitory timelines and shifts. So the first part, I want to explain a bit about the frequency and what this means for us as our root. Then I want to go into the mission update, because I've been gathering during this Mercury retrograde many of the mission reports. I've been in the mountains last day of the year almost, kind of like my last hiking day, and I've been receiving some of the information about what is completing and what is initiating. And the last part, I want to talk about the main messages of the Divine Reunion for those of you who feel you're in this path of unifying the masculine, feminine, divine principles of creation within yourself, and how you're experiencing this perhaps in your relationships. I mean, for sure, in your relationships, and how this is affecting and being in always in connection with your physical ascension as well. So let's begin, okay? What I've been writing about here is, as you know, the 2017 is not just a 10 and a 1 year of new beginnings and initiative, but it's also in a way influenced by number 17, because last year we had 2016, and a lot of us were under the influence of the number 16, which in tarot is expressed as the Tower. And the Tower is a challenging energy, and that's why we had a lot of major events that kind of were triggered instantaneously almost. Not just at world at large, but in our personal realities. There perhaps was an interplay of energies that came as crossing of 2 different opposites, like intense joy at one hand, intense disappointment on the other, and these energies were clashing in a way, and they kind of create this interplay, so there could be a merging of these energies at a greater level that we're kind of playing with. So a lot of us were working with this immense joy and brilliance and illumination, because last year was a year 9 of illumination and that awakening to the deepest mastery within ourselves. And those of you who went into your mastery in very profound levels, you're going to feel a reap of rewards this year, perhaps. But I also feel it's very important to expose that a lot of you, especially who are definitely volunteer souls, this will be your year to come out of the closet. If you've still been dormant and you were perhaps so focused with your inner work and self-development this is going to be your year to take a stand in the world. And doesn't necessarily mean go out into the world and travel and move into the people. Perhaps just move more into the group dynamics and, being more social, going out with the people, because also the number 1 is the leadership number. Also number of instant manifestation. So the instant, what I feel this year is an instant manifestation of your inner guide, your inner leader coming to the surface at large. So it feels like last year so much was bubbling and boiling up to the surface, and many desires were revealed, because remember, we had that conjunction, I think, of Saturn and Neptune, not conjunction, opposition, or was a cross, I don't remember, but it was this influence of these planetary stelliums that kind of showed us that it's time to bring that divine dream into a physical manifestation that feels linear at times. But even if you're a volunteer soul and perhaps you have still 1%, it doesn't matter how big that percent of your energy is, but there's a percentage of your energy that still feels it doesn't have value or completion in this world, like this establishment, that you feel safe in your environment, that you feel you're also supported and loved by this world, although you perhaps most often feel like an outcast in a way. You feel like this world has not much to offer you because you're so much more authentic in the higher frequency you embody. So perhaps you've been coming at these terms of yourself that one part of you says, I love life on earth, and the other part says, oh, I don't want to be here. But we are not fully living our mission until we fully want to be here. And I'm going to talk more about that in the second update, which is more about the mission report. So the first part is also that the 17 number now, we've had these challenging events. They've had us move into a rapid shift of consciousness, or sometimes, what we perceive was bad luck, or, just something so negative. In truth, we realize there is no negative. That's just an experience we can still feel in this world of polarized opposites. But the more we merge and these conflicting energies come into these balanced union, the more we feel there's nothing but just this continuation of energy. Even with the year, we feel like, okay, one year ends, the other one begins. It's just like, okay, what is the crossing point? Is it midnight at the 31st? What is it really, right? But it's the instant shift that can be instantaneous in any moment. And I know sometimes people say, and they often say that to me, well, this is just how I am. And this is how we often talk when we explain ourselves. Someone says something and you start explaining to them, yeah, but this is what I do just because I am this way. Why do we do that? The only purpose of a true master in our earthly, also human self, is not to be so masterful, that we have to be dogmatic in a certain way, we have to come out a certain way, but it's to be so accepting of ourselves in each moment that we don't define ourselves. We don't need to say, okay, this is what I do because of how I am. But we simply observe and love ourselves in each moment through that radical acceptance and compassion of the self, and then towards others. Because if you had, and I had this experience with a relationship that was so manipulative and addictive so many years ago at one point, and now became this unconditional acceptance of the other. But this is because we accept ourselves that way. And we feel that neutral flow of energies just interacting in the present moment, how it comes. You don't expect energy, essence to come to you in a certain way or through a certain being or in circumstance, through a place, but you feel it within you, and you say, okay, for example, I feel the energy of romance within me awakening. Oh, I want to experiencing so much in the physical world. You ask and you intend for that essence of romance to enter your life through you, through your life force, which engages you in this creation of your own reality. That's what true masters do. We don't intend it to come from the outside, but when it does and it meets us, it's because we've mastered that invocation from within. This is how we are. And for a lot of you, and this was my channel message today, I did my first daily message for the first day in this new year, was that a lot of you finally completing that external giving of the power away, or feeling and believing in the external authority. And I had my own story just this week, because this last year, which was a 9, kind of put a toll on our bodies, because a lot of us, and for me specifically, I know how it was. I put so much of myself out there that my body got tired. My spirit is always flying about joyful, happy, but the physical human body has needs in a different way sometimes, and sometimes they also have that contradiction. That's what the Neptunian energy meets the Saturnian, and the love that is Neptunian meets the love that is Venusian, and brought down into earth as well, in the unison of all celestial movements, but also all that is happening on earth and all that is happening in your body. through many ways. You know, it's not just physical. It's all interactive as one. So if you've had that synthesis happening, you're going to feel now more in alignment with your own authority. So when I had my own experience, because the body started to feel things of the past coming up, so the more you relax, sometimes you feel, why I'm relaxing, I'm taking more time for me, and things resurface, and you feel conditions are worsening, but it's not true. It's because you finally give the body to space to express what was perhaps suppressed or put on hold for a while because you were so active and proactive and hyperactive at times even. And that's how a lot of times it is for me. So I have to give my body time. And when these things show up as symptoms, they're not really symptoms. They're just messages of the body that shows you what you can do to be more in balance. And we kind of sometimes are guided to different things and means. So I was guided to try acupuncture for myself for these points that I have in the back, kind of coming up to surface and giving me some painful symptoms. And when I met the person who was there, and they were really having that authoritative energy. This is how it is. You have to come this way, and da-da-da. And the next day, actually, I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt, no, I'm not going. I'm not going to let that person tell me how and how I'm going to be healed. And I didn't feel it. I didn't feel resonance with that person. They were very egoic, you know, in how they were presenting the healing, and this is how it needs to be. Da, 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 da. And I didn't feel it. My intuition told me no. It was like, I'm not going to work with that person because I could not feel them. Because how they saw healing was not on all levels. And this is how we already exist. We've gathered all levels. It's not just physical. You can't have that, okay, mechanical, physical approach, right? So when something like that happens, you have to move within you. And even if that person feels very authoritative and tells you this is how it is, you still have to engage your master and say, yeah, perhaps, but how it is for me is what matters now. So this is a strong influence. And this year we have the power to all that we've grown into, like coming into our own, to express in these infinite ways of how we stand up for ourselves and the world. Because this year there's still going to be a continuation of that chaos and confusion and so much happening in the physical world that is basically a world in transitioning. A lot is dying off, and that's how it's showing up, through intense polarity playing itself out. And our truth and the voice for truth this year will be so important for us. Also, for us to be in alignment with this voice of truth, we have to purify, we have to be pure conduits. And a lot of us, and I already am embodied on the white ray of purity, so I had to go through many of such initiations because I embodied this, and it was my main mission, of many missions incorporated in that, which is the main. But I want to say that it's so important that the body is at this highest optimum frequency now, at its maximum potency. So it's very important that we've entered this new year, our bodies will start calling us to more soulful food and diet and nutrition and replenishing itself. So if you're called already, and it's not about New Year resolutions, you know, people sometimes do that, 30-day challenge, whatever, I need to do it this way, and it's very forced, it's very mental. And usually people kind of find out it doesn't work out that way because it's structured, it's too structured, it's too linear. You have to allow your body to do its natural course. The same with healing, right? The body has its own process and timing. It's not like you have to come here for 4 sessions and then if you're not okay, we have to continue this way. It's like, can you allow the body to show how it wants to move through the healing without expecting it to come at a certain way at a certain time? Just allowance is so important. And when people don't show up this way, I'm not going to be with that frequency because it's not what I feel into and that's not what I embody myself already. So I have to withdraw from those energies that are too dense. And with you being that voice of truth and your truth meter being so up high, the more tuned in you are in your body, the lighter foods you eat, and vice versa. So the more tuned into you are to the truth, your discernment will be higher and you will know more about the world and yourself and how you fit in. So let's go back to the 17 number. So the 17 I've already shared with you in my recap of the last message of the year last year, which was just basically just a few days ago, but still, you know, it's a threshold. So the 17 is the star in tarot, and we will also be influenced by many celestial events this year. And already this month, we begin a month with the 11 universal frequency. So it's already that rapid motion and movement forward. And it's always like this for a few years now that I feel the retrograde is in the beginning of the month because our bodies just need to catch up with our spirit. Our spirit was developing itself so much and so quickly, so it hit such a fast pace for so many of us. The body needs to catch up, and it's okay to give ourselves the time. So for a lot of you who are feeling this toll on your bodies are tired, just take that break. I'm going to take more breaks this year as well because the body has its own wisdom. And when it says, look, this is as far as we can go that way, or I'm going to start having these symptoms. Because when sometimes we're too in a hurry, the body contracts. And with these contractions, the symptoms multiply. Because we're in that contracted state. It's almost like, imagine those muscle tests they do. It's kind of that thing. So that which is energetic in nature then becomes physical. We all know how healing goes. So it is very important for healing. And I think we began this year also with the planetary stellium in Pisces. So a lot of healing energy happening there. And Neptune going through this transit as well. So it's very Piscean, which means a lot of healing is happening. I think with Chiron as well, which is always the wounded healer, and how we are aligned with that healing. So to have that 17 influence in a one universal year, I feel it's a beautiful combination. It's that leader through your celestial angelic self, through the wisdom you've gained, and that soul self wisdom gained through many of these years now. So new initiative, new beginnings. It's also in the Chinese year. We begin at the end of this month, the year of the rooster, which is like that the energy. I don't know what that means specifically, but I also was getting a lot of messages of pigs. I kind of got these toys, little piglets, and I'm like, what is this? And then my mother suddenly says, well, this has always been about money, like putting it in a jar of the piglet. And I'm like, okay, that's true. So I shared about that, and many people were expressing similar things, that they receive messages. So those of you doing the work, walking your mastery, expect more windfalls, more abundance, more prosperity this year. Slowly building up. Don't expect things to happen at once, because everything that is a work at large is an interplay of energies that are in progress. They're build up of energy that you're setting up as a foundation for yourself. So an 11-month now in January is an initiation number. That's always a walking through the gateway of mastery. I've started seeing 11-11 again in January, which is amazing. It's a strong initiation, and all planets will actually be direct from January 8th, which is actually 9th when Mercury goes direct again, until February 6th. And that's beautiful, because then we have this gateway of really planning our whole year ahead, not planning for the future, but really feeling into the desires that are now, that always were there. They're fixed within you, because they never go away, because they're soul-based. So this is a window of opportunity up until the 8th. Still Mercury is retrograde, and we are feeling, the bodies need to rest more. We're each experiencing this retrograde in our own natal positioning, so you have to tune into how this falls for you. But it is in a way retrospection and catching up with ourselves and our mastery completion. It hasn't been an easy year. The previous 9 was a year of illumination, like I said, and it has had its toll on our bodies, not just from the last year, but the gathering of all 9. So 2017 will be your year of renewed hope and initiative, the pursuit of soul dreams and true passions. And I've said before, those who have created the proper mastery template will have an easier year ahead now. As the world might feel more challenged, you might feel more at ease. Why is this so? It's not a contradiction, but it's a paradox, because the more mastery you achieve within yourself as a self-realized self, the easier you exist no matter what kind of conditions are out there, because you've mastered the in the here. So it's more time now for many of you to just be, to relax, to enjoy life, things coming into manifestation. Like I said, 1 is an instant manifestation number of all that was gathered in the previous 9 years. It's also important to, sometimes, I've shared this with you before, to continuously check when these major transits are happening, even if it's just a transit of the moon. For each new moon, each full moon, look at the degree, look at that degree in your own natal chart, what part of you is shifting, because you're going to work with energy more consciously. And I am kind of working on, slowly, on bringing up the new course of this, working with the solar logos frequency and staying tuned with how this plays out for us always, so that we know where we are and how that relates to the world. Our kind of like the micro version of the macro mission of ourselves. Okay, that's it. So I also want to read this, and then we're going to start with the mission update. I've been writing about this, what was the root, and what is the root of our happening now. So we have been getting messages, signs, and clues all throughout these 9 years about our soul-seated purpose. And with this new year, things of the unseen will slowly start coming together into the seen. So that's also the star, coming into the spotlight, your healed self. communication that is divinely guided, and it's soulmate energy as well. Like I said, right people coming together for the bigger purpose unfolding. Also, the inner beloved integration was established. The time comes now to live it as joyful humans. We've worked with that joy. And I will share my New Year's experience with you as well. So many star-seeded beings did not fully want to be here, regardless of the agreement we have made to be here. I've talked about this. You have to be fully joyful to really live your mission. Up until the point you are, you're still, people say sometimes, why do we still have to learn lessons? Well, you don't have to. But as long as you're still mastering yourself, you have the idea, the perception that you are. And that's how then is felt. So there needs to be not only the inner bliss, but also the physical, human, day-to-day happiness for us to feel like we belong here, so that the energy flow is uninterrupted. Even if we were never meant to stay, like some of us are going to complete our missions and going to go to our next assignment. It's just how we are. That's what volunteer souls do. Our purpose is always for that which we're being called to in the moment. So that needs to be integrated into our human experience, and when we're fully at peace with ourselves and our mission, we can transmit our unique light with greater ease and flow. So many are now finally achieving that. And I had this dream message when I woke up a few days before the new year. It's like a voice said, wow, I can't believe you're finally getting there. Like, you're so close. So I'm like, what? And I woke up, I was like, what is this? And it's like, what is there, right? What there? Where am I getting there? And it was about that there is that inner state of that peaceful, enlightened resolution and really living our sovereign, my sovereign. Okay, so the vision is that many star-seeded masters are reaching out into the world, like they're coming out like the seeds. That's what this year feels like for me from this perspective. I know a lot of people are talking about the world at large and the events. I don't do that. It's not my mission. So don't expect me, for example, if you say, why didn't you mention all these things? Because it's not my purpose. Go and watch some of other people's video and what they do. We are each here to establish our unique sense of being. And I do, and I only can do what translates through me. That's just how it is. You know, we have to deal with that. So we can't expect people to present things in a way we want them to be presented. We have to be authentic in what we do. And that means reaching out into the world, in our authentic way. And I've been sharing so much with so many of you who are going to be leaders of this new world eventually, in this spiritualized human master kind of way. So it's not just time for you to follow me or follow anyone doing that, but become the embodiment of that yourself, because you have a unique voice, you have a unique mission that I don't have, that only you have, that only you can understand, that it can only be flowing through you, it can only be delivered through you as a message of you. So that means from the cocoon of our inner mastery and what we've been gathering, we're going to go out into the world at large more, starting the uniqueness of our light and the messages that we bring to the world. And again, no one is the same. The uniqueness of our message, that is the key this year. So work on the uniqueness of your message and getting it out there in the way that most resonates with you. Not everyone will be video blogger or blogger in general, or, you know, spokesperson. Some people are going to work more maybe in humanitarian ways or certain organizations. It doesn't matter. But what matters is the energy you do it with, so that the key that is unlocked is that authenticity. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. So in this segment, I wish to first share with you how my Sylvester's or New Year's experience was for me. So I actually went to the city, and you know, me as a mountain, poor little girl, it's very rare, it's very seldom that I go to the city. But again, I met up with this energy of the city, and here in our beautiful country, Slovenia, the main capital city got so refined and so beautiful. And I went to the opera house and I met with some people. And then I was actually out. I didn't expect where I'm going to be. I didn't know until the last moment, because recently I lived so much in the now presence that I can't even know where I'm going to be the next second. It's really hard for me to plan for the future. You know, I can say, okay, I'm going to do this video then, and then I don't do it. And or do I do it sooner or later? It doesn't matter. It's just being with the integrity in the moment. So I didn't know up until the last second. And I was out there on the bridge, and, you know, the fireworks went off, and I'm looking at things. And I remember from the years back, I lived with this boyfriend of mine I had. We lived together in the city. It was so many years ago. And when we went out into the city, it was so crowded, and you had to, like, go with all these people. And it was not kind of my thing. I don't know, like these crowds and people rubbing off each other, and, you know, it's like very chaotic energy. But it was so much on point. The energy was more at peace. It was it was more refined. It wasn't so chaotic, and it was not so many people, and it wasn't that dense or whatever. And I felt a next level. I felt it was a little bit of refinement even in the city. So I felt that we perhaps had this tendency to sometimes, when we move and we draw more into the pure environments, we start saying, oh, this city's bad, or this is bad, or I don't want to go there, or it's too dense. But the main message for my new year was, when I was out, right, and I met people, but not just the people I physically met with, but also people that were on the streets, or, you know, you went somewhere to get some food, and you speak to, and I was so joyful. I cannot explain to you now. It's just when I talk about it now, I'm in this energy again, because I'm like put back into that essence. But it was just so brilliant from the perspective of my social self, and how I always love to engage with people and loving people just how they are. And, you know, for example, you go to this fast restaurant, you know, like there was this Indian guy, and he was like serving food, and although, you know, it's like junk food. And it's so important for us to have this relationship with the people, when you're like, oh, thank you for this, it's so good, how do you make it, oh, where are you from, you know, engaging people in this kind of way, that they feel valued, that they feel respected, they feel importance. And you can kind of watch them blossom and open up to their highest potential. And although I have many missions and do many things, with people, when I interact with people, my main mission is to get that spark out of them, to get that brilliance out of them, so they can better see and live it themselves. And I do that as well in my beloved sessions, very successfully. But the thing is, it's just so natural. And when I go out, I have to engage the social self, you know. To be a master is not to be just somewhere stuck in this, in the world when it's just you, because we do need that. We do need the hermit to master ourselves, to purify. But then we need to take that master out into the world, like take your human master out into the walk, do this, engage in that. And it's very important. So this, why I'm telling you this, is because it's a part of the mission that I've been writing about for many of you, because there were stages we had to go through, and for a big part of the time I didn't want to go. I didn't want to be even in the city. For me, it was too dense, because I still needed to reach that state where I can be and exist in any kind of environment. You know, I still won't stay somewhere, you know, when someone's smoking, or, you know, engaging in a lot of negativity. But it's not always like that. We can't see the world as so black and white. And the moment when we do, we're going to start enjoying in things, like enjoying when there's people there, enjoying the socializing. You don't have to have a particular someone to connect with, because you're intimate with all life. You're in love with all life. And that day I also met this person who was kind of closed off, you know, and I said, you know, you only need to live joy. And for a lot of the people now, the same message goes for you as well, that I've kind of translated to that person, which is, stop just delving into this spirituality in the books and working on yourself. And, you know, it's like seeing the imperfection and wanting to be more perfect and more pure or whatever. Everything that is from your soul will naturally, organically evolve through your ascension. If you try hard at it, if you do it from a perspective of, to be a Puritan is not the same as to be pure, okay? So if you do it from that kind of perspective, you're going to create this expectation on yourself, and you're going to get very mental, you're going to get very static and vertical, and you won't engage with the world. You won't go out into the world as just your genuine self. And that person then said to me, well, but when I was younger, I wasn't always like this. I was the boss, you know. And I said, well, you still have that within you. It's not like it's lost. And he said, well, I should understand why that happened. I said, no, you don't need to analyze or understand anything. Just call in back that essence of the boss within you, the social you, the butterfly you, the beautiful you, and call it in. You know, we are masters of the human self, means we don't always have to be social and happy and, you know, it's like, if it comes, the essence, you're in it, and you're so beautifully in it, you know. When I came to the city, I parked my car in the parking garage, and I was just so happy just to be there. I was like, wow, a new experience. I was just like so excited. And I look at the two cars standing next to me, and like 888, 777, yes, all these messages. I'm like, wow, thank you. I felt so blessed, and blissful as well, yeah. And for a while I thought I'm going to go alone to the opera because my mom got sick, and I didn't know until the last moment what's going to happen, right? I said, I don't even care, you know, and then I called my mom, oh, I'm going to go alone, and she said, no, and even if you do, you're a queen of the world, just go. And then in the end, I had a royal escort, you know, 2 men at my side, and I had company. Everything was just because I just surrendered. You know, we don't ask for things to kind of pursue them through hardship. And that's the new energy, is just allowing things to come to us, work with them through our joy, engaging with the joyful pursuit. Because The same thing happened when we went to Salzburg for one day. There was this bus full of people, and, I was there with my mom, and there was couples there. I have to share this. It's like, but we were more couple than other people. We were laughing, singing, talking, blah, 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 all the time. We were just so joyful because we engage with the world through our inner state, like the magical child. And then you try to invite people and you say, hey, do you want this? Do you want a sparkler? Do you want to light it up together? And everyone's like, no, and closing off. Like, what is with the people? And it's, the thing is, the main message is because the world has gone through so much and the energy is just, it's a struggle for many people what they still participate with, and a lot of them lost that sense of the inner magic, the inner child, that sense of wonder and awe and beauty and just spontaneous joy. And joy is the main frequency that is, I feel, a need to come through many of us this year. So call that in, okay? So my New Year's was perfect. There was so many shifts happening, and I just realized how much I grew. Because later then, after the midnight, I actually, someone I knew from the past said, oh, I do want to go see me there at this party. And I was like, I don't want to go to that kind of party, meet these kind of people. And then the voice inside me goes, but what kind of people, And I felt there's no more separation, us and them. And, they're not like this. They're living this linear dance, blah, blah. Yeah, but it's like, does that affect me and where I want to go? If I want to see that person, does that affect me where I go? And the master within you will know where it wants to go, where it wants to take you. But there has to be no such thing as rules, or I don't go because this and that. That's already the voice that tells you something. And the voice of the master is not even a voice, it's a knowing, it's a deep knowing. And when you follow up with it, you're just so much more at peace with yourself. And with each video that I've made for you, for us, I've gone more confident. I've gone more into my energy of true presence and authentic presence, that is. I can't be like, people who walked before me. I can't be like, no. Sometimes I say, wow, I don't talk slow enough. Well, it's how I am. We have to work on embracing the authenticity that comes, because the moment when we have these expectations that go like, oh, I want to be and experience this with this person, but in the moment they're not giving it to me. Oh, and then we start being sometimes sarcastic or snarky or blah, blah, making these opinions about them, but it's not about them. Like I said before, masters have to turn the energy always back to us. And if we want something, we have to express it in a sense of desire. Oh, for example, someone recently said to me, you talk so much. I'm like, well, it's how I am sometimes, And if I wasn't in the energy that they wanted to be with me in that moment, like, let's say, more lover energy, more open like that, and I just didn't feel it in that moment. So I was talking, right? I had to be authentic. Otherwise, I'm like trying. Okay, let's try to be in this energy. If it comes, it comes. Doesn't, it doesn't. When you let everything about yourself and others go, you have zero expectations, and life is just a play. And it's a play of awareness. It's not just like, okay, blah, blah, I do nothing. Okay, so we are not aimlessly wandering up and about. We do have these missions, and I'm going to read to you from this about these stages. And yeah, that's going to be this part I want to share. Let me see how much I've been writing. And I like to read to you because I don't like to forget things. That's why I do it this way. And I invest a lot of my time in this. So if in any way you feel guided to support, donate, whatever, I'm really appreciative as well. So the mission, okay? The goal and aim of many star-seeded projects, because we are in a way, we're like these projects of light, and how much light can emerge with the human template, was to establish the influx of many interracial star family light DNA genetics into the human family as one, in the unity light. For the human family is an offspring anyway, right? And it's just an extension of our greater, higher aspects of our star families, the group soul leverages, as all royal houses as one. So as people talk about themselves as Sirian, Pleiadian, Arcturian, blah, blah, Lyran, it's bigger than that. It's kind of like you have to tune into that, what I mean by this. But it's basically just droplets of, you actually impart in a certain energy, you imprint within it. You've been going through it, and it is the bigger self level, because on earth you wanted to plant seeds of that energy. But it's not this is that one, that's that one. It's more like a unified field of all these energies that all of them were already from the beginning designed and put into the human DNA. But they were kind of suppressed and forgotten for a long time. And now we're bringing those droplets back into their conscious seed awakening. So none of that, none of those essences is left behind. All are included and meant to integrate into the human physical DNA. And that is why for the first wave of you volunteers, for these 9 years, you've went through your own experience of how it is when you integrate all of those. You become aware of a certain energy. Ooh, you know, like for example, when I express these different parts of me, these interstellar, interdimensional parts of me, they're all going to come in their own unique expression. Like my elven self is this nature and the singing part. Then I have this seraphim self, which expresses mostly through art, or the seraphim channeled tonal attunements. You know, and when I also have this human self as well. I love my 3D human self. I love my social human self. It's how it is. So we don't go in judgment of any density, you know, it's all aspects. We all also live the human, because the human is the love child of all of these together. So when you love all of these and you know all your stellar or influences, you will also love your human. There is no other way. If you don't love your human, sorry, you don't love the other as well, because it's all interbreeded into one. Okay, so now let's move on into the phases. Up until this point, right, the mission for many star-seeded ones was to establish the perfect flow of the spirit-body-mind connection for the easygoing and the non-interfere transmission of light, so that it's in flow and in constant motion, right? It's this infinity symbol loop. The phase 2 is what we went through, the completion now. The phase 1 was the awakening of mass star seed on point, at point of the 2012 as well. You've probably had, well, I had my awakening prior. It was at the end of 2009. But it means that point, the awakening stage was complete for you. So that was the solstice timeline, and this solstice in 2016 was the completion of that, and that was the second phase. So up until that point, the phase 2 completed on the December solstice 2016 for many on this wave of timelines, and this physical body integration we did. So if you remember, I talked a lot about soul embodiment. That was the embodiment phase. It's like your awakening being translated through every droplet of your human expression. And every trigger point for this multidimensional awareness. And that's why I created all this multidimensional awareness courses, and they're available on my page for those of you who are going to be now going through this. So this was, and when this was completed, that was the alignment with the refinement of the soul embodiment. And I have the soul embodiment course available on my page, and it addresses this and how to work with this energy. So there could not have been a precursor to anything. What this means is that all the phases of the star origin are aligned through our higher selves and carry over into this physical realm in perfect divine timing. So you can't skip steps and stages. Just how it is, you know, it's like people in the twin flame community, they say, oh, I want it like this, you know, this attached feeling. Well, there's phases of every mission, okay, and we have nothing else to do but to go along with all these phases. That's unconditional love and acceptance of the process, not just the perfected expectancy, right? When the stage 2 is complete for the individual, the one has to feel whole and complete in their current residing human body. I've talked about this before. It has to feel total belonging. Even if there's nothing out there for you, you're the one who's creating a new world within your own bubble of love. So that means it has to be the guidance system. The guidance system is no longer implemented and experienced as external. It's fully integrated and internally felt as the inner guide, master soul, recognized, honored, and expressed via experience in direct alignment. That means if you felt before you had these voices or guides or other people or masters guiding you, now it's more of a unified collective experience. It's felt through you. There is no other voice but the voice of your I am presence coming through you. That's the stage 2. Stage 3 now, actually for those on the first wave, begins this year. It's still unpredictable. It's uncharted waters. We don't know yet where it's going, because I always get guidance mostly on the completions when we already go through it. We have to go experientially. Otherwise, it's going to be mental anyway. You're going to create this expectancy of something to be a certain way, and it's going to be just mental, and it's not what we're here for. So those of you who are really feeling this, don't judge yourself if you feel, I'm not receiving these, I don't know, messages of how it's supposed to be and what. That's good, because you're just going with it organically. So when Ascension is organic, you don't try at it. Like I said, a lot of people go into this spiritual awakening by reading so much and doing so much in their healing and purification that they become almost antisocial, because they're just in that. They're not doing their organic work in that balance. So they eventually tend up losing that balance, and they're going to be shown that by feeling there's always something lacking in their life. Well, a sense of lack means we're not tending to that part of the self. It's not in unison yet with all the other stages. Parts of us. I'm reading about stages here, so that's why. So this stage begins this year, and this is the new cosmic wave. It's going to come in. It's already coming in. It's like precursors, but especially spring this year is going to be intense. April-May timeline. So this is going to be spring 2017, and this stage will begin as a strong inner calling, a new feeling of this wave of our mission with a greater clarity and understanding than ever before, because you've done the clarification work in these 9 years. So everything was already said in the past. The seeds were planted. Now we will be only gathering it together as it comes. So it's going to be like picking those droplets. Sounds like aha. Lots of aha moments, lots of synchronicities, lots of things coming together, and the unknown timeline, just like, ooh, yeah, I need to go there. Or, ooh, I need to meet this person. Oh, I need to do that. It's going to be very much organic like that. So that's the second part. And the third part, I'm going to go into explaining a little bit about divine union. So stay tuned. So hey guys, this is the part where I want to address a little bit this divine union we got going on here. For a lot of you who know you're in this path, you call it either twin flame, twin soul path. It doesn't matter, right? I talk about this as a path of divine reunion and sacred union. Sometimes it can be addressed as Heroes Gamos, the sacred mystical marriage, the descent of the spirit in who form through our human body, and then the two human bodies that interact with each other through this divine union. So just before the full realization of the new year, I did this reading, and it's on my phone. I put a little picture of it on my phone just to sometimes see if there's something I forget to say. So I have pictures here of the reading. But I wanted to do reading about where a lot of us is in this process. And what's becoming really obvious is that still, although there's this unification of energy, there's both the divine masculine and feminine present within each of us, always at the same time. But from the perspective of our earthly evolution and how we go through it, the feminine is now really taking the lead still. But it requires a lot of patience on our part to be patient with what comes through our physical experience, the seed of the male, and sometimes people call this the second coming, but it's not really the second coming as one person, but I feel it more as this union, and the second coming with these beings who are complete sovereigns and can be in that state with each other as well. Sorry, I'm having my tea because it's kind of cold here, but tea is very hot. It's kind of a new format, right? Tea time with Polona. So anyway, what the reading showed, and the funny thing is underneath the cards was the 10 of Cups, which I really love, that's that energy of completion and fulfillment. So I feel this year a lot of us will have that, will start feeling that more. When our inner masculine and feminine are so much more in balance, we do feel, what else is there to feel but the sense of completion? And because of that, there will be the sense of forward moving. There was also the Chariot here. But what I think was very interesting is that I did 2 readings actually. One was just for me personally, and in both readings there was the Two of Swords. And I always see the Two of Swords as this coming into balance and peaceful resolution through merging the opposites. That's what we're doing. That's the main theme, the main theme and thing. But there needs to be on both ends the understanding of that there needs to be openness. The moment we make conclusions and assumptions about certain relationships we're in, right, we start moving ourselves away from this union. So what I've noticed in myself was that there was this complete sense of falling away of, who you want to be with, who you want to exchange your energy with, that sense of still some sort of attachment because that other person provides that for you in that moment. So when you become completely, self-providing and you come into your own and you become your own master in that way, you don't do that anymore. And you don't say things like, okay, this relationship is bad, that one is bad, I want to move forward with this person. It's all about how you want to feel as an essence. And to be in that divine unified essence means that, like I said, these Two of Swords kind of feeling needs to be integrated. needs to be a sense of that. Even if we feel pull in different directions, like let's say two people or two different directions, it can be expressed either way. We stay within that which is presented to us as the feeling of, even if the choices seem two or the options seem multiple, there's only one choice anyway, and that's going to be that inner intersection balancing point for us. So it's kind of like a paradox in a way. We get to choose, right? I always say that mastery is about choosing. And even in your relationships that are leading you more and more as these steps into the, more and more into the gateway of your merge and the sacred marriage within yourself and possibly the other person who can be the mirror for that in fullness, not just spiritually, not just emotionally, not just mentally. You know, you might get bored when someone is just wanting to be mental with you. It's like playing, what do people call this, mental orgasm? I don't know, but it's like, you know, the mental play. It's like word play, and you feel like, oh, that doesn't bring me anything. It's just infatuation. And for that part, you're going to have to be really firm with what you feel you need in each moment and giving yourself that, because that way you're going to be self-realized in every moment. This is the way that love truly enters our space, because we don't have codependency or attachment to it. And for us to reach this state and move into this third stage, that is connected with this third stage, because it also is about our third stage of this union, is that what we've achieved internally, that self-realization, we want to overflow with it and move into the external world. So perhaps for some of you, some of us, we might, when we go out into the world, we meet people who reflect us more in that stage because we were daring enough to go out into the world, perhaps, or being more confident in that way, instead of sticking with what we so dearly believe is true. And, you know, because this path requires a lot of sacrifice of that of the old for the new concepts to come. You know, we've held many concepts and ideas about love, like, okay, this person deserves me, that person doesn't deserve me, or this person treated me bad, or that's the worst I've ever been treated in my life. We've all been there and done that. But we're moving more into the state of, okay, what's next? Or what's the worst that can happen, you know? I've had this worst case scenario last year. It sounds funny when I say last year, right? Because it's still so close. But, you know, I was abandoned in another country by someone. And I'm like, okay, what's the worst that can happen, you know? And when you kind of move into that state of feeling yourself, that you are always going to get yourself into the next point, to the next point, and everything like this keeps you in tune with your inner union. And there is no other way to merge and have the divine reunion with another, but for you to have that complete union within yourself. And I know a lot of people focus on that. What is the masculine feeling? What is the feminine feeling? And when I see these things, I'm like, okay, it's very interesting. It is. That serves a purpose as well. But I'm looking at it from a deeper perspective. Is like, it can be so generalized. Like, I can't say, you know, men are like this, women are like that, or all twin flame, whatever community is experiencing, the masculine this, the feminine this. Perhaps, perhaps not. It depends on what kind of level of that union you've achieved. And if you took my Cosmic Beloved course or Soul Embodiment, I talk about this. I talk about enlightened partnerships through this inner union, and how through these external mirrors, through the relationships, you can achieve that. Because I always see that sometimes it's harder for us to see certain blind spots within ourselves, and a relationship comes and shows you this. But what we had to master was the gentility, I would call it, like being more gentle in our messages and our approaches towards another. Perhaps someone looks vile on the surface, but maybe they're vile or mean or whatever because they were so bullied themselves, or perhaps they've took on the patterning, the victimhood, or they had extreme situations happening to them, or they had people who disappointed them in the past. Or they had loss, you know, and you, from your awakened perspective, you can either judge them and say, oh, look at how they are, and you can see the reason why they're a certain way, not as an excuse to hold them and, oh, look at them, poor them, of course they're this way, look at what happened to them. No, that's not compassion. That's kind of like more like pity, right? It's not really coming from our master soul perspective. Your master soul perspective is, I get it, I understand why they are this way, but I also see a higher version of them. I'm going to keep holding that sacred space for the people that are dear to me, or for someone I consider my mirror, or the world at large. It just, this divine union thing is more about the level from which you're coming at it. It can be the union of the union of all the unions and the planetary level. It can be a scale as grand as galactic, cosmic. So that's why my course is called The Cosmic Beloved, because I talk about the union that is getting you deeper into deeper altered states of your being, to connect with greater levels of you. Not just, okay, I have a union with yin and yang as two people, yes, but it's still just a trajectory. It's still just an invitation into these two beings, again, together, achieving even greater states of union, like in their tantric union, and when they practice these higher conscious levels together. But what many people were trying to do, and especially in New Age communities, they wanted to be in union, they wanted to be somewhere together, but they themselves have not yet mastered their space, that space. So I feel this year, and according to my reading, is that inner resolution, right, that inner polarity coming into play has to be dealt with first. We have to keep an open mind for that. We can't have these expectations about how it should look, who should be with us or who not, or sometimes people move into separation mode, and even that we have to allow them to experience, because we don't always see, but even that is a part of their process towards union, which they have to achieve for themselves first. Okay, so what else is there? It's interesting, I feel, because the Hierophant is towards the end, and that's the marriage, the spiritual marriage, and it's that coming into the sacred partnership as well. But when I did a lot of other readings, I get very much the Temperance card, which is the complete balancing. It's the moderation of your spirit and matter. It's the coming together in that way. And it's that influence when you love being in your body and making love to your body and with yourself and another. So this year I feel there's so much potential for the union. But that synchronization has to occur by you synchronizing your own conscious engagement. And when you feel energy coming towards you from someone, don't say, I can't exchange with that person because they're like this and like that. See what comes into your life and what wants to enter, and see what moves away from your life. Perhaps there's a physical distance between you and someone, and even that has a reason. And now I want to share a last bit and piece through. Sometimes I give you these experiences or my perceptions through movies, and I was taken to a movie. Someone took me to the movies, which I haven't been for a while, on the first day of January 1st, after the New Year. And we went to see Passengers, right, this new movie. And I don't know why, but I just totally fell in love with that movie. It was amazing from the perspective of the message that it held, okay? If you haven't seen the movie yet, please don't watch this, because I think it has some spoilers for you, and I don't want to do that. And I remember last year I gave you this message from the Star Wars perspective, which was also interesting, and the feminine was taking the lead. But I feel this message, because I watched it on January 1st, of that movie, was also a message for us, for the union, because the movie spoke about this union in that way. So there was two beings, right? They were supposed to travel from Earth to a colonized new world that they were supposed to colonize. So they were kind of frozen in time, right? So they would wake up in I don't know how many years, but they woke up too early, and that was for a reason. But the main point is, I'm not going to give you the whole story, especially if you haven't watched it yet. The whole point was that in the end they were faced with a choice, and they either, for them to work together to save the ship, because the ship it went through this transition, and it started failing, right? So the whole crew, which was 5,000 people, would go kaput. Anyway, the thing was that if they did not work together, they couldn't do the mission. They could not do it together, and the feminine and the masculine have to do it together, archetypally, and us in these partnerships. Either if it's a one-day meeting with someone, or someone you choose for life to stay with and do the work of integration. But the feminine got so mad because the masculine was like, oh, I want you for myself. I'm going to awake you. He's like, awake you because I was awoken too early. So he woke her up. And she was so mad when she found out. But the thing was, she said, you ruined my life, right? But the thing was, I always see things like that. Even then, even when we feel it's a mistake, it's for a reason. It's not a mistake at all. But she didn't see it in that moment. So you see, I feel it had an important message for the union, that even when things feel like, you tricked me, or you did this bad, or whatever it was still out of love. But we when we're in that ego mode, we don't always see it, and we refuse it, and we deny these unions. And she was so mad. But at the end, when they realized the ship is in failure mode, she was, when she saw that she could lose him, she completely shifted in an instantaneous moment. She was like, "Oh, do anything. Let's just save this. Let's do this." And it was just beautiful because there was finally, there was this synergy of two energies coming together. So they did end up saving the ship, but there was this opportunity that she could still go and in this hibernation mode by herself because there was only one boot left. And he said, "Well, just go, yeah." And in the end, don't look at that part if you please, it's a total spoiler. But what I loved about this movie is the ending, because usually the Hollywood type movies is like, okay, the typical ending, wow, ha ha ha, kind of like a little tragic, like the Armageddon kind, yeah, that kind of that kind of ending. But it was beautiful because it didn't show the choice, but it showed up those years later when the whole of the people woke up and the crew started waking up. And they entered this room, and it was this Garden of Eden. All these plants and all these things they took there together with them for this new world they're going to cohabitate with. They're going to co-create with. They're going to colonize. Basically, everything was already there because they already started doing the work. So what they decided was to live their mission in the now. They did not postpone it, like, okay, she's going to sleep for so many years, okay. They found love in the moment, and they've realized the purpose in it. And a lot of people still fail to see that because they're so fixed towards outcomes. And us as humanity, we have this, we need to reach this or achieve this and space program, this and that. And it's like, yeah, but what does that serve us if we don't have this true companionship to enjoy it, to enjoy these creations? If you don't have yourself in that mode and perhaps share it with another or a group or I don't know, your choice, choosing of preference. But it has to be through love. And I love the message of this movie because it showed that they decided, they said we created a life together. And because of that love, they input in that, there was flourishing. There was a Garden of Eden flourishing on the craft, on the spaceship. They did not wait. So the message of our union is don't wait for the union. Come into love, return to love, return home to yourself. Don't think you're out on your own, because a lot of people choose to run away or whatever, even from love, because they felt hurt before, they project it's going to happen again, or they just go like, okay, I'm going to just be a cynic, retire for life from that. I'm not going to do relationships anymore. Well, that's very static. It gets you in a very linear vertical mode. I know people like that, and it's not very joyful for them. They don't feel very joyful, because they don't socialize with what we have here, and it's the world and all the species on it and all the beautiful life forms and us as the eternal beloveds. So the point here is that you can choose love, and when you do, love chooses you, and you don't run away from it. You can create beauty in this moment, and your mission will be live now. You won't wait. A lot of people say, well, maybe perhaps in a few years where I'm meant to be doing that, or what I'm meant to claim my karma or whatever. That's old. 2017 is for the new. We're here to, return to love. So please, beloveds, return. Come back home. Home to you, home to me, home to us. And that's it. That's our message. That's the message that I got for this divine reunion part. There is a chariot in it as well, which means lots of forward momentums and forward movement. But it has to be also leaving the past and the known behind to try new ventures. So you never know what awaits there. Don't be so fixed on only one outcome. See the guidance in the moment, because even if you feel that what you want to choose has nothing to do with that, which you're presented with now, perhaps it does, but you're going like this. But it's like a spiral. It's leading you into it eventually in that alignment, which is proper for you. So either way, last droplets of tea. I wish you all a beautiful time, beautiful year, beautiful month to start it up with. Lots of rest, joy, pleasure, abundance, creativity, love, communion, togetherness, of course, as always, physical ascension and purity, and being the divine lovers of life that is calling us in greater levels to step up, to step into it, and just be the love that we are. Because there's nothing better when you share your spark, when you share your joy, your love, magic with the world. It's like, the world is your oyster. Welcome to this new world, 2017. Here we go, here we come. And I will see you on the other side. I'll talk to you again very soon. Take a look at my courses. Take a look into that of the beloved specifically. It's a strong resonance for that. And if you're guided to in any way participate, to support, to share, donate, thank you as well. Thank you for your feedback as well. I love you all so very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your views and sharing whatever it is. I love you all so very much. Love, wisdom, and power. Happy 2017 and beyond. Woohoo! We did it.
Come into my world, the world of the elven song, magical.